Right, Blazers team president Larry Miller there. Richard Cho, new Blazers GM. Now they call you a stat guy. What does that mean? You're a new age GM. I know Paul Allen said that in his quote about you. What does he mean by that?
Well, you know, I have a mathematical background. I have an engineering degree along with a law degree. I would say instead of a stat guy, more of an analytical person. I think analytical means more than just stats. I'm a big data collector, so when you collect a lot of data, one of the biggest things with collecting data is is not useful if you can't put it in a fashion that people can understand it and interpret it. And so I think one of my strengths is doing that, taking a lot of data, interpreting it, and then putting in an organized fashion that upper management can look at and review.
Okay, so in terms of basketball data that you go through to evaluate a player, what are some of the most important pieces of data to you?
Well, you got the traditional stats, like you know, your regular stats that you see on the internet. We do a lot of advanced stats too, as well as shot charting. Let's see how guys shoot from different areas on the court and how that affects things. For example, Wesley Matthews shoots 52% from the left corner three. So that's something that maybe we give to Nate, so when he's devising a game plan, okay, he can set Wesley up on that side instead of the other side, or on the wing where he shoots a lot less percentage. So those are some non-traditional type stuff. Other things that I've looked at in the past are like, for example, I've looked at all ACL and microfracture surgeries in the last 20 years. So just something like that to kind of get a feel for how well a player does after ACL or microfracture surgery, his career productivity before, productivity after, season before, season after, things like that. I'm always trying to look at different out-of-the-box things to give our team an advantage and a different viewpoint on looking at things when we're approaching contract negotiations, when we're looking at signing a free agent or making a trade.
Larry, who has the final say on personnel matters in this group that you've now assembled? So now you have Chad Buchanan, Michael Bourne, scouts, you have Nate, yourself, Paul Allen, now Richard. What's the hierarchy there?
Rich is going to be the guy that's going to drive decisions on basketball operations, be it trade, be it you know, player signings. Ultimately, Paul is always going to have the final say if we're making a major situation, because we're investing his money. It's his money that we're putting out there, and so to me, you know, he has the right to have the ultimate say. But the way it has typically worked, and this is no different than in the past, I'll give you an example. Marcus Camby deal, right? Kevin, Paul, myself are on the phone at 1 o'clock in the morning discussing whether or not we should make this trade. Kevin's recommending the trade. I talked to Kevin, and Kevin and I talked about it beforehand, so I'm also recommending the trade, and we're talking with Paul about it, and ultimately he says, okay, if you guys think this is the right thing to do, then do it. And I don't see anything different in terms of how that situation worked than how it's going to work going forward.
We've got Larry Miller, Blazers team president, here with us, also new General Manager Richard Cho. Are you, I don't want to say upset would not be the right word, how do you feel about the way you, in particular, and this search have been portrayed in the media?
Well, you know, I've developed pretty thick skin coming into this role, but I think there's been a lot of speculation. There have been a lot of things that we couldn't talk about, so people make speculations or, you know, kind of decide on their own what they think that means. But, you know, it's in personnel issues, and when you're dealing with personnel issues like I've dealt with them in the past when I worked at Nike or other places, generally there are things that you don't talk about. The difference here is that this is a public situation, right? The media, the fans want to know. And it's difficult to deal with that when you can't share certain things about what's going on. So I know, you know, I know that's been the case, and I've developed thick skin around that, but I know ultimately that we're trying to do what's best for this organization, and we're trying to bring a championship to this city. And I would just ask that people not necessarily agree with everything that we do, but believe that we're trying to do what's right for the organization and what's right for the team. And if they do that, then I'm okay with it. I don't think that people have to agree with everything we do or every decision we make. I'm okay with that. But at least disagree with it from the perspective that they know what we're doing what we think is best for the team.
Now, Richard, were you surprised when you were offered the job?
Yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised. I felt like I had a great meeting with Larry, and then I also felt like I had a great meeting with Mr. Allen. You know, when they tell you that, hey, congratulations, yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. So it was a great feeling.
I could hear him smiling through the phone.
Now, personnel moves. Actually, Larry, you'd probably be a better guy to ask now because Richard's just getting his feet wet, and obviously he's just now here doing the media rounds. But are you done this summer? Is the roster balanced enough? How do you feel about your approach when Richard gets on the job?
I'll let Rich talk to that.
What do you think? Do you have personnel moves in mind, even from looking at the Blazers roster from afar?
Well, I've got a few things in mind. One thing is this team does have a lot of depth, and it's got some veteran leadership. It's got some young guys. It's got depth. It's got size, but at the same time, I'm not the kind of guy that's going to go in and think I know everything. So I'm going to speak to the coaches. I'm going to speak to Chad and Mike. I'm going to speak to Larry, and then kind of get a lay of the land. And then I've got my own thoughts, and then work as a group to make a sound decision going forward.
Okay. Wesley Matthews, official?
Not quite official yet.
But it is. I mean, what, 99% that they're not going to match. And it's what, tomorrow night at 5, I think, is Utah's deadline?
I think it's today, but sometime today.
Okay, I thought it was tomorrow. Okay, yeah. You can't comment, but Wesley Matthews will be a trailblazer. That's a nice addition. All right, well, Richard, now ping pong. You mentioned that you dominate Nate McMillan in ping pong. Is that what I hear? Nate McMillan needs to work on his ping pong skills.
Oh, well, he's a good ping pong player.
Not as good as you, though.
Well, I think I've probably played more than him too. So.
All right. Well, it's nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you,
Richard. Welcome to town.
Thank you.
Now, is it Rich or Richard?
Rich.
Rich. Okay, we're gonna go with Rich. And the family. Tell us about your family before we let you go. Who you bring along with you?
Yeah, I've got a wife, Julie, who I met in law school, and we have two daughters. Miranda, who will be 5 in September, and Annika, who will be 3 in September.
All right. Good to get back to Northwest.
Oh, it's great. I've lived on the East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, and there's nothing like the Northwest. All
right, Rich Cho, thank you. Larry Miller, thank you for coming in.
You're welcome.
And guys, we'll be in touch. We'll be right back with your thoughts on the hiring of Rich Cho today. It is 4:01 with Isaac. Suk is out today. I'll be back tomorrow on 1080 The Fan. All right, guys, thanks.